Stephen, Thomas, Deborah, Leslie, and Mariella. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. We're going to, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And today's training is going to be on what happens at closing. So I do have a CD and from a buyer and a seller so that we can understand how to explain it in a simple to understand way. But first, let's kind of just start at the point to where, we have already got the home under contract. And in order to get to closing, we know we have to do a couple things right at that point. And one of the, I've had agents call me all weekend. Hey, I'm under contract. What's next? So we know we've shown the home. We know that the buyer looked at us and said, what's the next step? We say, give me about 45 minutes. I'll start sending you over some documents. You call me if you're not comfortable. I'll walk you through it. Whatever you do, you send to me. I'll review before we send it. It's a counter back and forth. At some point, we get an acceptance. Now we're under contract. And the date is on the contract, the 8th of October of 2021. You have 10 days that you bought. Okay. That's your option time. That's when we're going to get a home inspection. If today was the 8th and we bought 10 days, then tomorrow will be the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. At 18th at 5 p.m., the buyer would have a right to terminate for any reason or no reason at all. Any reason. They'll never get that option back unless they go to closing. Okay. If they terminate in the 10 days or 5 days or 2 days, whatever it is, if it's 2 days or 5 days, you got to hustle to get that home inspection done. And basically at this point with the market the way it is, you just let the buyer know, hey, either hoop or get off the pot, but we're not going to be getting any repairs done. Maybe an allowance, but whatever it is, the final decision of what the allowance is, if any, or repairs done, you got to have both initials from both parties before 5 p.m. on the last day of the option. Just sending over an amendment and going, oh, I got it in. No, because at 5 p.m. in 1 second, it goes to as is. Hey, how you doing? So it goes to as is. Here, wherever you want. So right when it gets executed, if it was today, what I always tell everybody, if you're with a buyer, you send the attached contract as a PDF to your buyer, the lender, and the title company, and copy yourself. One email with the executed contract to the buyer, if that's your client, the title company, if it's Roxanne, the lender, if it's Brooks or anybody, and who is the fourth one? Yourself. Oh, and yourself. And you just go, let's say it was Thomas. Hey, this is Thomas with DHS Realty. I've copied all the parties that are involved in this transaction. I'm with DHS Realty. I've attached the executed contract. You got to execute it. That's above the signature page on page 9. It says this blank day, a blank month, a blank year. 8 October 21. Boom. That's the executed date. That always counts as day 0. And you just introduce everybody. Hey, just want to make sure that over the next 30 or 40 days, whenever there's a reply to all. I want to be kept in the loop. And Brooks, this is Roxanne, the title closer, and Joe Blow, the buyer, and so forth. Just pretty basic like that. Okay. So that's the first thing. You send it off. You want to verify they got it because the lender's got to work on processing a loan. Okay. After you get the home inspection, you should, and you get the repairs done, you should be on pretty much autopilot. Hey, Marlo, how you doing? How's it going? Get to you ready. All right, this is Stephen, Thomas. Nice to meet you. I keep going down here. It's Deborah and Leslie and Alan, Hammer Time, and Kay and Jalecia.
Okay.
Okay. So, and the food's over there. So I would also talk to the buyer during the next 10 days and just say, hey, who's your insurance company with? Oh, I'm a veteran. It's with USAA. Okay, well, just reach out to your insurance agent and get a quote. You're going to need to hook up the insurance person with the lender because they're going to have to get that premium for 1 year because every buyer pays a premium of 1 year insurance at closing. After that, you're pretty much on cruise control. Okay, what I will always do is about once a week, I just send an email out that I already have in my sent. So I open up that email with the contract and I just hit reply all and go, hey, just checking in. Is everybody good? Boom. That's it. Because again, what you're wanting is that buyer to be your business forever, not just for 30 days. And sometimes if you get to you basically start the race, but before you finish, you kind of drag ass and don't talk to anybody. It could be where they go, yeah, I mean, Steve was fine, but he didn't really communicate with me much. So that's just kind of, you tickle the file, and if it's already sent once, all you have to do is keep hitting reply all, and you just check in about once a week. So the closing, if it was executed date today, most likely be a closing at the end of this month. A good lender can close by Halloween. Worst case, 30 days. So if today was the 8th, I put November 8th, okay, because today's October 8th. Probably about 10 days before closing, okay, I'm going to reach out to the buyer and go, hey, we need to schedule a walkthrough, and you need to get off for the day of closing. And you're going to get in touch with the title company. And you could do it by replying to all on that email and say, hey, just checking to see what your availability is on November 8th. I'd love to have your earliest closing time. That's what I always say. I'd like to have your earliest closing time. And so if they reply back and go, how about 9? Boom. I just make it to where you're going to have to do it if you're the buyer, and you're copied on it. And that means that if we were going to close at 9, that I'm going to meet at the house at 8. Okay. You don't want to do a walkthrough before 8 because your super E key doesn't work. You can't get into a key box before 8 a.m. and after 8 p.m. So just make sure that you kind of know that. So let's say it was on 8:15. We meet at the house. We're closing at 9. Title company's 15 minutes away. Perfect. I mean, shouldn't be any big surprises, but we could have had a hailstorm last night. Half the fence is down. Somebody threw a brick through the window, tried to steal something. Don't go to closing if that's happened, because that home is not your buyer's yet. There's nothing in the contract that says that your buyer is responsible for anything before closing. And you have the most power before closing. The last thing you ever want to do is have somebody go, oh, we'll handle it after it finds. No, I think we'll handle it now. And it could be that the seller needs to bring up a cashier's check made payable to the buyer. The title person can hold it. When it funds, the buyer gets it. But some remedy needs to be worked out if there's a discrepancy at the walkthrough. And that's being an advocate. So then I'm going to look at, let's say it was Thomas. I'm going to look at Thomas and go, hey, just follow me to the title company. If I hit a yellow light, I'll stop, and we'll be at the title company about 15 minutes. That's the time when I don't want political stickers on the back of my car. When I was in college, I was a scuba diver, and I had a sticker on the back of my car, divers do it deeper. I mean, just stupid stuff like that. You don't want to do that as a grown man or a grown woman. Like, split the child this ways away. And again, I don't care who you voted for. I think they're all a bunch of losers. But at the end of the day, having a sticker on the back, it would suck if I've worked with him for 60 days and he loves me. But on the way to the final thing, he's decided he'll never use me again because I voted for somebody different than who he voted for. Your own family will do it to you at Thanksgiving dinner. Coming up in about 6 months. He got no family relation to me. He'll cut me off quicker than bait that needs to be replaced. So as he follows me, now obviously probably a couple days before, I just want to make sure that he wired his funds to closing, or he is bringing a cashier's check. The cashier's check is made out to the title company, not to the seller. And you can't do a personal check. So it would suck if you closed at 4 p.m. and Thomas pulls out a personal check for $65,118 made out to the title company, but his bank is 45 minutes away. That means it ain't going to fund Friday, and nothing funds on Saturday or Sunday. So it'll be Monday. So that's why you go, hey, just want to make sure. And usually a good lender will say that, like, hey, just want to make sure. Have you done a wire already to the title company? And the title company, if it's a good one, will also kind of relay that to everybody. All right, so now let's talk about you pull into the parking lot. Again, I'm not a big person with closing gifts, but just to show you an example of how to be different, I went to Home Depot this morning just to show you how doing a closing gift's a little different than having wine and cheese and a friggin' whatever. This is a soaker hose, Soaker. It's pronounced soaker hose, not soca. I used to work with somebody that would pronounce it that way. It drove me nuts. I was like, it's not called a soaker hose. It's a soaker hose. Soaker. Now, what I did is this was $7. I'll probably return it unless somebody wants it as a free gift today, especially if a closing coming up. It's just a little different. It makes an opinion of yourself with the buyer, because you're trying to now make sure that they protect their asset, their investment. So what you do is you would open this up and explain to them, if you wanted, that basically you lay this, if this was where the house was, okay, so this is the brick and this is the soil, then you lay it about right here. And if you make this onto a single faucet, it makes two. Everybody with me? So you could have it screwed into one side and have another one screwed into the other, and it should reach around the whole house. And basically what you do is about 10 p.m. every night, every third night in the summer, you turn on the water, and when the weather starts, you turn it off. That's about 20 minutes in a newscast. So I say every third day do that, once a week in the winter, and you'll keep moisture around our foundation. And our house is moved. You've seen me say this in class. Our house is moved. We just want to move together. And that's a soak hose. It's got little holes in it, and it just seeps out. It keeps moisture, where this is always going to be snug like that. If you don't water, then eventually here's going to be the slab, and this is pulled away, where you can actually put your foot in between where the slab is and where the soil should have been like this. With watering, it would have been, but you didn't water, and so it just starts to peel backwards. Okay, and that's how you have foundation work. So I always like to, I've never done this before, but I wanted to, brought it to a training, but I wanted y'all to see, like, that's what a soaker hose looks like. They're different colors. You could actually put it a little below dig a little trench and maybe put it right below, maybe 2 inches from the foundation, where it's not seen as a black hose or a green hose going around. And obviously, if there's a sprinkler, you don't need it. I know some people that have sprinklers and a soaker hose. Okay. So yeah. Oh yeah. Right. And again, it's no problem. You can actually go a little more sophisticated, get a timer, this is just, if you want to, that was $18 and this was $7. So what, $25 a closing gift? It'll never be a gift that somebody else gives. And so it's just a little different. And if they go, oh, I was expecting wine, you're like, well, there's a liquor store on the way home. Knock yourself out. So that's that. And I always have that like in a little bag and bring it in. And, we're going to walk into this is a title company. So let's just say we're closing here. We're going to walk into the title company. When you walk in, you should know, maybe the closer. And so as they walk out, let's say it's Stephen, you go, hey, Stephen, it's good to see you. Hey, this is my buyer, Thomas. And Stephen will shake his hand and say, hey, you got your driver's license? I need to make a copy of it. And they'll kind of usher us in one of these rooms. And I always like, as an agent, to say, where do you want me to sit? Because I want to be out of the way. It's not my clown show. So I step out of the way, and you go, oh, right here's great. So I sit down, you sit probably like that, or maybe next to him. He'll leave to go make a copy of the driver's license, and then he's going to come back in with a stack of paperwork about that thick. Okay. Now, what I always recommend, and what I still do, is I just kind of play the quiet game. I don't need to show that I know more than the title closer, because it's supposed to be a relationship. So as long as everything sounds pretty normal, I'll be quiet. But if I ever have a closer that wants to tell Thomas how the clock's made instead of what time it is, I'll interject. Okay. So the first thing is that you're going to give him a CDA. And so we're going to cover it real quick. So I've got 2 CDAs. Okay. And again, there's a little bit of a glare. You feel free to move in, but this is a buyer CDA. So this is when you're with a buyer. Now you can see at the top, it's got the closing date. This is actually closing of mine. I'm with the seller, and that's the next CD. So this is the buyer. There was another agent. So at the top, you can see that it's got the address, it's got the date, it's got it closed here, it's got the borrower's name, the seller, it's got the lender, it's got over there, it's conventional, 30 years, fixed. And then you go here, and it says the loan amount is $413,100. The sales price was $486. This is the house we did an open house. I don't know if y'all were with me on, you were at that thing, Deborah. And Leslie, I think you were there maybe, but it sold for $486. It was listed for $410. And so 486 minus 413,100, it shows you what the down payment was. 2.99 was the interest rate. I kind of look over at the buyer and go, is that the rate you thought it was? You want to make sure. Okay. And then that shows the principal and interest. So that's their P&I. All right. As you scroll down, you see that it's got the principal and interest, again, 1739.42. It's got mortgage insurance. That's $41.30. And then it's got estimated escrows. That's going to be taxes and insurance. And that's years 1 through 4. So it shows that they're going to pay $25.59.77. That's going to be PI, TI. And then on the right, it shows from years 50 to 30 that it goes down about $41. because the mortgage insurance pops off. And again, that's crazy. But that buyer didn't put a little more down to get that $41 waived. Here's something that hopefully their agent told them that you'll be able to. They're paying this $41. They bought the home for $486. The reason they're paying that $41 is because if you took 20% of $486, it's a little more than what they actually put down, but they're so close that that's a really small amount of mortgage insurance. In 1 year, you could tell the buyer to call their lender and ask for a packet on waiving their mortgage insurance. All the home would probably have to appreciate for is another 5 or 10%, because that mortgage insurance is insuring the top 20% of the loan against default. As soon as your equity position, the value today, less what you owe is 20%, you can request it be waived. So even though that says in 5 years it'll be waived, you can do it much earlier. But the buyer won't know that, and the title company won't tell them, but you can, and that's going to be where you're looking out for their interests. So does everybody understand that? So then you go down a little further, and again, it talks about 779, and it says right there that that's escrow, their insurance and their property taxes. That shows their total closing cost, and that shows what they had to bring today to closing. You go to the next page, and you start to see the buyer's charges, okay? So at the very top, you see the origination. That's generally 1% of the loan amount, okay? So you can see that that's a little more than 1% because we saw the loan was $413,000. So that would have been just $4,100. It's $4,700 because they also threw in probably some extra charge. It says that they paid a 0.78, and that was 0.78 times 413,000. The loan amount times 0.78. They're prepaying to get probably a lower interest rate, and they paid $32.34 to get that. So these are all buyer's charges. You see the admin fee and the processing fee. Those all have to do with the lender only. The lender only. These next charges, you'll see that if they're in the column, they were paid at closing. So you've got, it says services barred and not shop for. So those 4 charges are going to be $1,186. The one on the right that says $980, that's because it was paid up front. So the buyer was asked to pay that on a credit card, probably. And so now they're not having that debited again the day of closing. So that's actually showing as a credit paid before closing. So they were charged $150, $47, and $950. If a buyer says, what are those fees right here? You just say, those are basic fees that every lender charges when you get a loan, okay? Those fees up there, those could be negotiable at the very top, but that's if a buyer wants to try to negotiate them. When you get here, these are going to be title charges. They're pretty much regulated in the state of Texas. So again, you've got, and you just kind of read it, a courier fee, $35, recording fee, $12, endorsement, escrow, lender title insurance. That's the owner title policy. That protects the borrower. I like to use a rule of thumb that that's 1% of loan amount, even though it's less, but it'll never hurt you if you say 1% of loan amount, because the loan was $413. So 1% would be $4,100. It's only $2,400, but it's just easy when you're out in the field and a buyer says, hey, I notice I'm paying title, because don't we have a lot of buyers paying title? Yeah. And they ask, hey, how much is that? It's not 1% of loan amount. It's going to be less, but you'll always be a hero. Versus trying to be exact and you screwed the pooch a little, okay? They'll always remember when you told them it was, they'll always know the opposite. Yeah. Buyers are funny. Okay, and then you got $175 and you got $4. Okay, over here, the reason you're seeing those is because they're split. Okay, they're split. You're going to have fees that the buyer and the seller pay, and that's why it's showing the 35 on both sides. All right. Now you go down to the next section. And the next section I think is pretty cool. It looks like Latin, but if you just start thinking about it, first off, you've got recording fees. So that's going to be still charges with the title company. You go to prepaids. And again, the concept is this. If I'm putting less than 20% down and you're the lender and my home gets struck by lightning, you want to make sure that I'm covered or you're going to lose your asset. Hey, Allie. So what that's showing is 1 full year of insurance debited at closing, and the buyer is going to be paid 1 full year automatically. So if the buyer never makes a payment for 1 year and the house is struck by lightning, it'll always still be covered. And so that's why you see right there that this buyer got a quote of $2,205 for a year's policy, and they paid it a year in advance. It says homeowner insurance policy, 12 months. So the buyer paid it 1 full year in advance. Then it shows right there prepaid interest. Well, what that means is that the closing was on 9/28. Well, the 28th, 29th, 30th, I think that's the 31st, and then that's 5 days of interest. They calculated the interest on the loan was, it must be 4 days. Maybe it's 3 days. It must have been 3 days to the first. So the 28th to the, see that right there? The 28th to the 1st of October is 3 days. The interest is $33 a day on the loan for the buyer. And the buyer was debited those 3 days from September 28th to October 1st. And then when there's the first payment? 11/1. 11/1 will be living in the month of October. So basically that's just interest for the time they closed up to the day of closing, and or to the first of the next month. All right, here you have homeowners insurance. Well, they already collected 1 full year. We just saw that. Now they take 3 months and they also put it in a little escrow account. It's like a savings account with no withdrawal rights. The buyer will see it billed, but they can't pull it out if they have an emergency. So right there, you have the 1 year, and right here, you have 3 months. So really, after they paid 1 year, the buyer had 3 months before they made their first payment on November 1st. On November 1st, those 3 months will go to how many? 4, because they're going to take out $183. That's the monthly amount. So every month, $183.75 is going to be taken out to build this little savings account, so that in 1 year from 9/28, the buyer will have another 15 months of insurance, and the lender will pay their insurance another year in advance. They always have a little cushion of 3 months in case insurance what? It goes up. Yeah. And again, that's where you might want to have a come to Jesus meeting with the buyer and just explain, look, if you get something wrong with your house and you can get something replaced for less than the deductible, I don't know, maybe you don't file the claim. You just suck it up, because when you file claims, it's going to affect your insurance premium over the long haul. And a lot of people don't understand that. They'll file a claim on friggin' anything. And then they wonder why their insurance went up. And really, they paid the whole amount anyways, because their deductible was less than the amount of the repair. All right, so that's the insurance. Okay, this is where it gets super weird. It's a government form. That's the first thing you got to understand. So here you have 3 months. At 1 month is 183. So 183 times 3 is 551. So there's the 3 months started in the account after the year was paid right there of the insurance. Here, again, this buyer closed on 9/28. If I was the buyer, I'd look at my agent and go, why in the hell am I being debited for 12 months? Well, here's what happened. Because the government did this, 3 pages later, it shows a credit from the seller from January 1st to 9/28. If you and I did it, we would show the credit right underneath there. So the buyer would go, oh, this is really just 3 months of taxes. Does that make sense? So when a buyer looks at you and goes, hey, why are you getting debited 12 months of taxes? You go, well, you're really not. But we got to go 3 pages because the government made this form. And they never held a job. And they'll laugh. I'm like, I ain't joking. And then when you go 3 pages, you're going to see that basically almost 10 full months of taxes are being credited from the seller to the buyer, which really makes that only 2 months of taxes. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. So then you get down here and you can see that it's got $75 as a prep. It's got the commission, which that was not the amount. I did it for 1%. So I did it for $468. I got $4,680 because they're getting divorced. I'm gonna help the wife. And then you have some doc fees. Okay. So basically then all you do is you go to the next page and it says right there, subtract your debits, and you got 30,184. And then you go to the next page. And this is where there's just a comparison. We've talked about the loan estimate. You get that 3 days after loan app. Well, it has up there the loan estimate, and then it says, what's the CD? That's the final. Well, under federal law, there can only be a certain amount of discrepancy. And if there's more than is allowed, they're going to give a credit back to the buyer. So you'll see that the answers on the right say, did this change? Yes, but it was within reason. Did it change? Yes, but it's within reason. And then no, no, no. But then you get to the bottom and it says, hey, with all what they were told they needed to bring and all what they actually brought, the difference was too big. So there's going to be an accounting. And what you'll see is that it says, see details in section L. So when you go to L, there's K. Okay, right here, when you go to L, it's showing the debits and the credits. Okay, so here you've got paid already on behalf of the borrower, $429,403. Okay, that's what they brought in a cashier's check. Okay, or probably. Then they had a deposit of $10,000. Then they had their loan amount of $413,100. Oh no, that's just counting everything. So here are the credits they've already had. That just already added them up instead of adding it down here. So basically, you have $10,000 earnest money, $413,100 loan. They had a $1,000 option that they got because they went to closing. Does the buyer ever get the option if they don't go to closing? Never. So that's another talk that's always good to have with a buyer, is that you only get the option back if you go to closing. So they wrote a $10,000 earnest money check, got it back. They had a $413,100 loan, got it back. They had a $1,000 option, they got it back. And then here's that credit that couldn't that have just been shown on that page when it showed the total debit? So they just got credited back that 12 months. They got almost 10 full months, which means effectively how many months did the buyer really put in that little escrow? Two. And then you subtract that from the total purchase and the closing cost, and you get that they brought $75,543.83. Okay. So that's kind of how you explain it. You're not going to have to explain it in depth like that. I think the biggest thing that I've ever had to explain is when they see that tax thing and they're like, why am I getting taxed for, 12 months when I just bought it on October 1? Oh, because it takes 3 pages to find out that we just got a credit from the seller for 10 months. Does that make sense? All right. So anyway, so that's a buyer one. Okay. And let me show you a seller one. It looks a little easier. It's a little easier to explain. I was with the seller. So I looked at this with them and they're fine. They didn't need me to really explain anything. On the right, you really don't have to worry about anything. These are numbers only for the seller. Okay. So at the top, you can see that they're owed the sales price. Okay. That's the credits that they're due. They're due the sales price, $486. Then we have to talk about their closing cost, and their payoff was $39,226. And their total closing cost is $20,992. No seller credit. So now we just go over to the next page because we're about to itemize that $20,992. So you go to the second page. And again, this is only seller charges. So they're not going to really have anything they paid before closing. So all their charges are going to be in this first column that the seller's paying. And basically, if the seller says anything to them, you basically need to just say, hey, these are all normal seller charges based on the title company. They're all regulated by Texas Department of Insurance in Austin and Truly in Chicago. The fees are the same. It's just the customer service. Okay. So as you go down, if they have any questions, generally the closer will explain it, but this is really where they usually have any questions. And so attorney fees are usually $500 or $450, and that just means they were split. So there's be a $225 charge on that buyer closing because they split that attorney fee. Home warranty, we all know home warranties. Most sellers aren't having to pay them right now, paragraph 7H. And if you call me and say, hey, I'm making an offer and want to win the home, I'm going to tell you my opinion on how to get it. And one of the opinions will be make paragraph 7H 0, because I template $700 in y'all's contracts. So we're always asking the seller to pay a home warranty for $700. So if you don't want to do that, which is fine, it's going to increase the net $700. And it could be the difference between another agent that won't do it. That's your call, as long as you explain it to the seller or the buyer. But my seller paid for it. So it was $688 because we had $700 in there. Listing agent's commission, that was mine. 1% of $486,000 is $4,860. The agent with Keller Williams made 3% of 486, $14,580. And then there's a settlement fee of $525. So that's $20,992 as the total closing cost for the seller. You go back up to the top, and basically what they did is they added the total closing cost, the loan payoff. That was debits, and then they had credits of $5,303 from the seller, and that meant that they netted $420 and $478. Then you go to the very last page, and it's just a signature page, or it should be. It's not anything major. Okay. All right. So now let's just talk about what would happen after you look at the CD, because the buyer looks at the CDs first and the seller, and then they start shuffling paperwork. Most of the paperwork is just saying, hey, Thomas, you're acknowledging that you're Thomas. Hey, Thomas, you're acknowledging that you're Thomas. Hey, Thomas, we found these aliases. Are you Thomas? I mean, it's crazy. There's so many stacks of paper. We get down to two that are the main ones. The first one's the note, and you just want to verify that the interest rate that you think you have is showing on the note. And it'll have your name, it'll have the address, the principal and interest, the first payment, the last payment, the interest rate, and usually attaches amortization schedule. After you pass that, the next one, which is the most important in Texas, is called the deed of trust. And again, you can really oversimplify it, which I like to do. And it's where you just look at the buyer and like a Pepe Le Pew voice say, it says you no pay or you no stay. Because Pepe, you know, he was canceled or canceled. I like to say both out of the culture. I watched him when I was growing up. He's a freaking skunk cartoon character. He's not even real, but apparently he harassed a cat. And I guess he scarred me forever, even though I've never done that to anybody. So I continue to use his voice when I'm at closing, and I'll say it just like that. Oh, you no pay? Oh, you no stay? And then usually the buyer laughs, and I'll go, no, I'm serious. And you got to pay how many people? 4. Okay, you got to, 4 to 5. I mean, I say 4, but it's going to be always the ad valorem taxes, your property taxes, the deed of trust is the mortgage, mandatory HOAs, and then anybody that does work on your property. It's called a mechanics lien. You pay those 4, and nobody take your home away. That's a really simple way to say it. You don't even have to do that. You just say, hey, you don't pay, you don't say. You do pay, you say. I move on, especially if the closer goes, I don't know how to explain it. Just go, oh, if you don't pay, you don't say. What do you mean? I don't know. Do I need to put it on a chalkboard? You don't pay, you don't stay. And then you just kind of, move on. If they're getting a little weird, like, I think I need to read every page, I would just say something like this, and I've had it happen. Say, well, I'm sure that Stephen has a bunch of other commitments, and it usually takes about an hour for us to close if you didn't read it. So if you're going to read it, we probably need to reschedule, which means you might not fund today. They're not able to move in. Again, everybody that's buying a home in Texas is going to sign what you're about to sign. The main things to look for is your name, the address. Basically just says you don't pay, you don't stay. But I feel 100% confident that you can sign it without any reservation. But ultimately, it's America. You decide what you want to do. You just shut up. And they're probably going to say, okay, I'm good. Okay. So once they sign it.
That's how I ended up in the bed.
So once they sign it, then Stephen basically gets up and he leaves to go make copies. And this is going to be a time when you're alone with the buyer for probably 10 minutes. And I do this with everybody. It just doesn't matter how old you are, but I just usually look over and go, hey, congratulations. I'm going to look at you like you're the buyer. Hey, congratulations on achieving the American dream. I know it's not your first house, but still, it's a great accomplishment. And I hope everything was good. I do my best, but sometimes it's not good enough. Do you have any, gripes or anything? No, everything was pretty good. Well, just so you know, hey, come on in. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. So I would just say, the same passion that I represented you with, I do for your family and friends. So, I did give you a break on the commission, the 1%, instead of charging you 3%. So hopefully I'll make that up on you knowing that I want all your real estate needs. I think that's pretty sincere. And then, hey, by the way, I bought you a closing gift. It's not wine. You can't get drunk on it, but you can protect your asset that you just put $81,000 down on. So again, I march to my own drum, and I do things a little different. So the closing gifts aren't, like a knife that says I'm the sharpest tool in the box, or, it's not going to be monogrammed on the blade that, I mean, it's called Cutco. Agents do that. Again, if I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, every time you cut cake, you'll be laughing about me. So you want to make sure that if you're going to do a closing gift, that you were the sharpest tool in the box, if that's going to be what the gift is. So yeah, you don't have to do anything. I'm not one that thinks like, to be quite honest, I don't do a closing gift. I just wanted you to know that if you do one, that's kind of thinking outside the box, something like that. All right. Other than that, I always tell the buyer to get a will, because again, life's random, and something could happen where now you have $81,000 you put down on a property and you die without a will, and the state decides where your property goes. So I'm always going to say that. And then I usually end with the fact that we're in a homestead state, but you also, that's automatic, the protection, but you have to file your homestead exemption. And you generally have to wait until January 1st of the year you live in it. I think they just changed the rule, but I would still just say it like that. Say, so here's the deal. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to get a lot of letters. And one of them specifically is going to say for $95 that you can send in a check and they'll file the homestead for you. It's free. And I'm going to put you on my email database. You're going to get an email every Wednesday. And the first Wednesday in January, because you got to live in it on January 1st, up until just recently, they changed it, but just continue to say it, it's fine. And say, but anything you get from here on out in the mail, just take a picture of it and send it to me, and I'll let you know whether you actually need to pay for it. I got a guy that had never moved here, lived in a house before. Super nice guy. His name's Ali Muhammad or something. And after closing, about every week, twice a week, he sends me a picture of mail, and he goes, "What about this?" And I just do one word: trash. And he laughs like half the time. And I mean, if it was ever important, I'd say, "Oh, save it." But it's just junk. Yeah. But half of them say to send a check in for something. And again, if you've never owned a home, you're like, "Oh, damn, I've got to do that." And these days, everything is fraudulent. If you've gotten the FedEx thing that's like missing an X or something in it, or I mean, there's one that McAfee sent me the other day. There's no A, and I called him, and of course, when I called the line, it's like a guy on a cell phone. I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "You think I'm that stupid?" And I just berated him, just to get some money back. Not that I spent anything, but mental money. So anyway, so that's kind of the training this morning. And the way we're doing these trainings, 11, I kind of do it 11 about 1 or whenever you are done. For the next few minutes, let's start in the beginning, because that was the end. We'll just start in the beginning, and that way everybody kind of gets a good idea. And anybody can log off that's online whenever you want, or you can stay on. So the first thing is I always like to start with is how does the phone call happen? And again, we have lead programs that some people like and some people don't. Leslie, you have how many of those closed? 5 or 6? 5
or 6.
Yeah.
And we're waiting on 2 more checks.
Yeah. So I mean, on those, it's not going to put her on Forbes magazine, but what it does is right. And so it's a hustle, and but what it does, it keeps the mind going. And I had an agent that I got it only open on June 17th. It's Realtor.com Op City Leads. She had a $20,000 lot she showed, and I forgot who it was, but she's with us. And so 20,000 times 3% is $600. And under 150 on Realtor.com, you pay a 30% referral to Realtor.com. So that's $180. Well, then with my 225, her commission was $195. So I always get the CDA after y'all do it to approve it. And as I was looking through it, I was like, "Oh, that's stupid. Why would I want to take 225? So I took it out, and her 195 went to 405. That's a major difference. So I'll always do that. I mean, this company was not built about $100 or 225 here or there. So I'll always be in your corner. But it does kind of get, number one, it keeps you busy, and it does maybe provide a little bit of a floor. But that's always going to be your call. So we have OpCity, and we have a Zillow contact where you can buy leads on your own. But no matter how it works, somebody's going to call. So I'm driving down the road, Deborah calls me, and this is generally the way I do it, no matter who it is that calls me. I always have my phone in. I always try to answer the phone. "Hey, it's Doug Smith with DHS Realty. Hey, my name's Deborah. I was looking at 123 Easy Street. Wanted to see if you could show it to me." "Absolutely. When do you want to look?" I mean, it's just like that. No matter what. I don't even think about it. "Oh, when do you want to look?" I mean, that should always be the goal. "When do you want to look?" "Oh, I want to sell my house. When do you want to meet?" "Oh, I want to look at a house. When do you want to do it?" And I mean, that's it. And she goes, oh, that's kind of, how about tonight at 7? Sure, I'll see you then. Hey, is this your cell phone? And just make sure she texts and what's your email? And, have you ever talked to a lender before? You could always send her a lender on the phone. Well, you put on speaker and do it. Just shows you're real proactive. And at the very end, I'm always going to say something like, hey, one more thing real quick. I'll see you tonight at 7, but hey, give me a realtor's name so I can sign them in case you have a realtor. I don't want to take commission from your realtor. It's just a way to ask somebody where they don't really know what you're asking. It's kind of like when you said you beat your wife lately. There's really no way to answer that. You're going to be guilty no matter what. So the way you want to ask that question is where you're really asking so that you're not going to waste your time with that buyer by showing them later. So that's what I would do. I would say it just like that. And then if she said, oh, I don't have a realtor, I said, all right, well, I'll see you tonight. I get off the phone. I immediately send her a Haystack business card, which y'all know that's a free app. You can do it however you want. I just think it's kind of cool. It's free. And in order to get a business card sent to somebody that's electronic, you would have got their cell phone. So I sent it to her, and then I always follow up with a video message. And she's like, hey, Deborah, it's Doug. Just trying to put a face to a phone call. I'll see you tonight. And hey, check your email. I just went in and sent you that property and everything else. So I would have already gone into MLS and done that. If I went into MLS and that property wasn't available, I would have sent her a new list of properties before I called her. And I simply would have left her the video message and said, hey, Deborah, this is Doug. I still got 6 p.m. open tonight or 7, whatever time it was. But that home's no longer available. But I did just send to your email 6 homes that fit that criteria. I think we could probably knock them all out tonight if you wanted. I look forward to hearing back from you. And it's good talking to you. Oh, just like that. Okay. So then you're going to go into MLS. This is always the website for MLS. It's matrix.neptus.net. Okay. And I have it on my phone. I do everything on my phone. So, you don't have to do it. I don't expect you to be like me and have everything on the phone. I just enjoy it. And I feel like I've kind of sold out when I have to play on a laptop. So I like the phone, and I'll always upgrade to try to get, memory and stuff because it's going to be my business. I don't really care about the storage on this. So matrix.netrix.net. When you log in, the website is always going to basically be this, where you're going to plug in your license number and you'll have your own password. Once you get to this next screen, there's usually about 10 boxes on top and 10 boxes on bottom. And you're always going to pick the box in the top left corner. So you'll see about 10 boxes on the top and bottom. Just always pick matrix.netrix.net. And when you do that, it'll go to our MLS screen. And this is the screen that if you're new, you open your MLS up and it looks like this, but you wouldn't know what it looked like before I did that. It looked like a friggin' bomb of boxes went off. So I just dumbed it down to 3 boxes. This is anybody you send a search to. This is how to pull up a house. And this is if you ever want to do an open house, you can go to My Office Active Listings. You can click on it. And when you click on it, you'll see all of our listings as a single line. And once you see them all as a single line, you find which one you want and you click on the MLS number. And when you click on the MLS number, that's always going to be an agent full report. And that means you just scroll down and you text Araceli. Hey, Araceli, can I do an open house at your listing? And that's her cell phone right there. Okay. So what we're doing is we're going in to do a search. So we'll always be at this screen when we log in, the dashboard, and that's going to be those 3 boxes. So the website or the tab on the top to always really get to know is going to be the search tab. I had an agent this morning that told me, hey, I'm doing a search in Richardson under 325 and there's not anything. And I was in the car and I was like, I'll check when I get to training. And I was like, that's odd. There's not anything in Richardson. I was like, are you doing 0-325 and typing Richardson? Yeah. I was like, okay, well, I'll check. So I went in here, I hovered over search. I went to residential quick. Okay. This is going to be our MLS search criteria screen. And I already have master down marked. So I uncheck marked that. It's already marked single family. So I went over here, I typed in Richardson. And then I went up here and I did 0-325. And there's 15 homes. So I texted him and I was like, I actually took a picture of that on my phone because I did it on my phone. And I texted him, I said, your search should look like this. Well, he was doing 325 and a plus sign. Well, that would be 325 and higher. And I don't ever do that. I just go to the cap and I go 0. So I don't care what price range you're at. If you're approved for $500,000, I go 0-500. And then I start putting in all the criteria. But at least that way I know that if you said 300 to 500, that there's not one for 299 that you're going to find and bitch at me about for not sending it to you. So I'm always going to give that price range 0. Also, I think it shows a little bit of integrity on your part, that you're saying, hey, here's everything, and now you can decide. So if this was the search, there's 15 homes. In the top, it says I'm only sending active. I'm sending single family in Richardson, 0 to 325. There's 3 zeros marked. That means really 0-325,000. At this point, I've said, and I really decided to make it really simple. We're going to hit results, save, new auto email, always. Results, save, new auto email. Results, save, new auto email. Results, save, new auto email. So if I hit results, then I should be looking for save. And when I see save and hit it, I should be looking for new auto email. That gets us to the screen where we're going to email this list of people. And so now all we have to do is fill in their name. And if they're already in here, then I just pick them from the drop down. But if they're not, I have to create a new contact. And again, as a training, it could just be, Constance. See, I don't know her last name, just a generic person. So I have to have a first name, last name, and an email. And then all I do is hit save, and I have them right there. Then I go down here and I'm going to put, Richardson Homes. Then I scroll to the very bottom, and before I hit save there and email it, I want to make sure that as soon as a new listing gets inputted after I send this initial search, that they're going to get it immediately. Because every listing from here on out that they get on this program is going to have my picture next to it. It'll have your picture next to it. It'll have his picture next to it. So if you leave it the way it's set up now, it says daily. That means that only at 7 a.m. tomorrow will they get any new listings. So right when I hit save, it's going to go email to them. If I have it marked like this, if a new listing gets inputted the next second, they're not going to get it until 7 a.m. tomorrow. I want them to get it immediately. And so I'm going to select ASAP. Then when I hit save, I just emailed it. And it'll say at the top in this next screen, it's been sent. Okay. So again, we're here at the dashboard. We get a phone call and somebody says, hey, I'd like to look at this lot in Gunner. And you're like, yeah, when do you want to look at it? Oh, I don't know. How about 10 p.m., 8 p.m., 7 p.m.? 10 p.m. is a little late. I don't do business past that time. As a realtor, I would always say that. Of course, I do business with y'all up to midnight. But it's dark. Why would you want to look at a lot at 10 p.m.? So that's a good question. Oh, because I wanted to assault you and rob you. Oh, well, pick someone else. Yeah, that's right. And that's why we also use Forewarn to look up people's cell phone numbers, and y'all have that free. I have the website Forewarn. I go and see a lot of y'all haven't activated it. Not y'all, I don't know, but again, that's a free service, and I use it every day. So anyways, you're now going to go and hover over search, and you're going to go to lots and acreage. And when you go to lots and acreage, you're going to hit quick or detailed. I just always do quick. When you hit quick, you're going to have a search screen. And what I've already done when I did your template is I highlighted farm and ranch and residential, because that basically covers everything minus commercial. And so if, let's say it was Marlo and she was the buyer and she wanted lots 0 to 200 and she wanted Prosper. Okay, well, as soon as I got to P, it already picked Prosper. That's good enough. But if she wanted 2 cities, I need to type them out and put a comma, and I need to spell them correctly. Good luck on Fairview. And then Gunner, once you type in, you do need to know that it's pronounced Gunner, but it's spelled Gunter. Okay. You can see there's only 8 matches. So let's say that I wanted to send those to her. I'm going to hit results, save, new auto email, just like that. And again, I want to say it so many times during every training so that we all know that's all we have to do is results, save, new auto email, results, save, new auto email, results, save, new auto email. Let's say that I had her in there. I would go ahead and just pick her. Oh, there she is. And then I would put in here lots, because I'm about to text her anyway. You never want to send a search without texting the follow-up. Hey, just want to make sure you got that list of properties. Oh, I don't see it, Doug. Oh, check your spam or junk. Oh, there it is. Okay. And then you always hit ASAP. And then all you do is hit save. and you just emailed it. Okay. Now, the way I've set your phones up, if you've joined us, you know that when I onboard you, I do your MLS and I always text you, hey, you just got a 4-digit code. What is it? That's because I've gone in here to my matrix and summary. So again, here's your main board when you log in. And when I clean up your MLS, I go here, I hover over matrix, I go to summary, I go to settings, and I go to recent portal notifications right there, portal notifications. Once that opens up, I go down here and I put in your cell phone, your phone provider. It sends you a 4-digit code. You text it to me. I plug it in right below here. I hit save, and whatever I have marked here is what you're going to get on your text. Normally, I do this for you guys. So what you're getting is a text every time somebody visits a portal, saves a favorite, or visits a portal for the first time. Sometimes it's overwhelming. It blows your phone up. So I just unmarked mine and I do favorites only. But to start out with, I want y'all to have everything that's available. Now, you can always go in and do that and just uncheck mark them. And all you do is go down here and hit save, and it saves it. And it's real simple. It's just my matrix and summary and portal notifications, and then you're right there. Okay. So settings, portal notifications, and you're right back at the place with your phone number. It's part of the onboarding process that I do. So, all right, so that's basically it. Now, the ones that OpCityRealtor.com give us a lot of is leases. And again, on leases, just to make sure we're on the same page, the most important thing on a lease, if it's an apartment, is to be signed in. With COVID, a lot of times a tenant contacts the apartment first. If they're on the phone, they simply go, hey, I've got an agent named Marlo, and boom, Marlo will be protected. If they go in, they need to say, hey, do y'all have a realtor program? Yes, my agent's name is Marlo. Marlo's done. If the tenant said they never want to sign an IVS and a buyer rep, I could care less, and that would be fine. You'll get paid. I'd like to get IVSs and buyer reps on everybody that's a buyer tenant, but the reality is it's America, and some people don't want to sign it. And, we'll walk through that together, and I'll make sure that we've sent an email that just is real nice and says, hey, Thomas, it's really your benefit to sign it, but it's America. I completely understand if you don't want to. Just reply back one more time and tell me you don't, and then we'll save that into our back agent as a resource in case he ever comes back and claims that he was unprotected or something like that. So on an apartment, the major thing is to always get signed in. On a builder, the first thing you got to do is get signed in. That means on the phone or in person with COVID. Always in person or on the phone. The first talk, the first words ever out of your mouth to an apartment or a builder, I'm the realtor for Marlo. Marlo's my realtor. And then it's over. You got paid. You're getting paid. All right. It's when it's not an apartment that we need to know kind of what's going on. So the first thing is apartments aren't on here. So you're going to be doing legwork on apartments or have the tenant do it. Just remember to have them sign you in. And also remember on a tenant, you can give them anything back because they don't have a lender and they're a principal client. So you can give anything to a principal client. It just needs to be disclosed. The biggest thing about the disclosure is what is with the lender, and the lender won't allow you to do it because that would account for maybe their down payment. And every buyer has to come up with their own down payment. But with an apartment, you can give anything to them. So my son, Mitchell, he's down in Houston in Baytown, and I'm in 10 cities. And so he's down there representing us. His sister just graduated from Arkansas. She's living with us. A lot of her girlfriends are getting jobs up here after leaving Arkansas. One of her friends just rented an apartment at Rock Hill for $24.15. Put Mitchell down. He never even come up here. He's been there the whole time. And I got a check about a month ago for $24.15. I didn't know whose it was, and it was his. And he just gave her half back. So I wrote a check for $12.0750, and $12.0750 I mailed, or sent to him. So again, you can do that all day long. All right, so this would be if somebody wanted to look for leases in the MLS, like houses or condos. So again, you'd search, you'd go to residential lease and quick. Now, I've templated only homes in this search that we're about to see pop up. If you, for me, I've templated both to where this always pulls up like this. If you wanted to mark condos, so first you would log in and see that this is the only thing that's marked. All you do is hit the control button, you hit condo, and then you go to this rotary, you click that and say, set this as my default. That means every time you open up this search, those will both be marked. You can do that for anything. So like if you wanted to check masters down always, you would just go, oh, let me make that a default. And that means every single time you open up this search, master down's marked.
Once you press save and you're gonna email it to them, can you do it ASAP with the rotary instead
You can't,
of 7
because I tried that 2 days ago, because I knew I was going to talk about it, and I was like, you know what, the rotary's on every screen except that one, but I went ahead and did it, and I was like, damn it, it's not there. It would have been cool, because yeah, obviously, I'm going to call MLS and see if we can learn how to do that. That's on my thing to do today. Does everybody understand what I don't want people doing? And again, it's America, do what you want, but what I don't want you doing is going in here and doing this for a CMA, and then doing this. Because that means that every time you open this, you're going to mostly use this for a search. This is to do a CMA for a seller landlord that wants to know what's been selling as lease properties. That means you're going to always have to uncheck mark that. The last thing you ever want to do is send any of this crap, unless it's just that, to a buyer or a tenant. Because what they're looking at is homes that aren't available. Okay. Those three right there that are called active, those are under contract. So you never want those to be sent. And guess what your MLS is templated at when you first get it? And that's what I do. When I go in to clean up your MLS, it looks like that in every search screen. So I go in every search screen of yours and I unmark those three and go to the rotary and hit what? Save as a default. So when you log into MLS the first time, and of course you're always next to me when I do it, because I had to have that on. So you're going to be next to me when I do it, but no matter what, when I do it, you're going to have it looking like this. Okay. And that's how you want it. So here we go. I have it like this, but Deborah's the tenant and she only wants houses. So I'm going to uncheck mark. Okay. And then she says, yeah, I'm good with everything. 0 to, 1,500. And that's where you're going to say in your mind, good luck. And then she starts telling you the cities, and you realize you're wasting your time, because she's going to say, oh yeah, Frisco, Allen, McKinney. Of course, you got to spell McKinney right. And Plano. Okay, well, there's 3. Don't really want to look at what they look like. Now you have master down. You probably want to uncheck mark master down to give her more options. So it went from 3 to 4. And you probably would be good to look at them at this point. So you look at them and you're like, oh, okay, one's 928 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom. So she says she needs at least 3-bedroom minimum because she's got a family. So we know that that one would be eliminated. So we have basically 1, 3, and 4. So looking at 1, just to know what's under 1,500, that's not bad. It probably won't be on the market that long. Let's see how long it's been on the market. 14 days. So that's one. You can see here, it talks about what you're getting paid, and that's 25%. So a fourth of that amount, which is what, 400, something like that, 500, 5, no, yeah, 350, yeah, something like that. So you're making $325 on that. You go to the next one, you can just hit next. That one would be off the table because it's 900. But again, if she saw the fun of it, maybe she'd want to look at it. Again, you scroll down, you can see how much they're paying. They're paying 35%. Okay, 35% of 1,400. You go to the next one. Everybody see what that percentage is? Yeah. Okay, you go down here and you're like, oh, that's been on the market 11 days. They're paying 25%. Yeah.
Will you touch on, because I know as new agents, one of my questions was, do I have to show them that? And I realized, yes, I do, because it's my fiduciary duty. Right. I just wondered if you wanted to touch on that for new people.
Sure. So the buyer rep agreement, the reason why that's templated is because on paragraph 11, the top of page 3, I put 3% and 50%. So it's called a buyer tenant representation agreement. In the tenant template and in the buyer template, I have the buyer reps marked with the same amount, 3 and 50. 3 and 50. Again, I've been with brokers that didn't want me to do that. And I would go, why? Because can a buyer turn into a tenant? And can a tenant turn into a buyer while you're working with them? So why would I need 2 buyer rep agreements when they both say buyer tenant rep agreement? So one will cover buyer and a tenant. So if you get that signed and then you're showing, and again, you could send those properties. You could have a talk with the buyer and go, hey, I'm good with showing you that house tonight at 5. I just want to let you know, my office policy, always push it off on me. My office policy is that we charge 50% of the first month's rent. This home's only doing 25% of the first month's rent. So I just need to know from you, like, are you comfortable with covering that other 25%? It could be that you don't worry about it. Like maybe you want that tenant, you know they're going to buy in a year, and you're willing to drop the 25 and only get what the landlord's paying. That's going to be a judgment call on your part. I'm never going to intervene in that. You never have to ask me about commissions at all when you negotiate. That's just not part of our program because you only pay $50 on the lease. But yeah, so if you have a buyer rep agreement, you're promised the 50% if they sign it. And the way that paragraph reads is it says 3% and 50, and the buyer's like, oh, I have to pay that? And then the next paragraph says in bold print, if seller cannot pay the above amount, buyer will be paying the difference. Okay. So let's say that I was working with Allie and I knew she was buying a home and I knew I was getting 3%. So I met her last night for the first time at the builder. We signed up. I know as a fact I'm getting 3%. When I send her the buyer rep tomorrow, can I just delete the 3 so it doesn't even become an issue? Yeah, I'm getting paid no matter what. I'm on a contract with the builder. So instead of it having templated 3% for her to question me, go, hey, what do you mean 3%? Let me go in and delete that. I can just do it before I send it to her. But I know that if I ever forgot, that it's in there no matter what. Does that make sense? Is that what you were kind of getting at?
Yeah.
And how do you do it? Because you've worked with a few leases. I know you haven't gotten the 50.
No.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping that the lease will turn into a buy
Right.
in the future. So I'll just, and I word this, and I can show you how it's worded, and Doug uses the same wording. If it's only 25%, I'm not going to ask them for the other 25% because hopefully they're going to use me in the future or give my name to the
Other people.
friends.
Yeah, for sure.
And something's better than nothing at the beginning.
Absolutely. And the bottom line is, and I mean, she knows it, but people treat tenants awful. Agents do. And if you kind of march to your own drum and you go, you know what? And I mean, I used to be in oil and gas before I got my license. It was like a master's in economics when I was there for 3 years. But the owner used to say something like, hey, I don't care if you buy in 6 days, 6 months, or 6 years. Like this isn't about 6 months, 6 days, or 6 years. This is a long-term play. So I want all your oil and gas business. I want to be the only firm that you put your money with. And so I'm not really interested in you just buying one home from me, but we're going to build a portfolio. That's the same way when you sell investments. You say, no, I don't want you on one well. Shit, I go spend it somewhere else. I want you on the next 10. And the investments were 25,000. So I was making 10% of 25. So I made, $2,500 on one well. But if I got you to 10, that's the goal. So the goal is always in real estate for the long play, especially if you're going to be in it, and you should all feel like you are. And I say it in class, and it's a true story. I met a guy 20 years ago that was a buyer, and he had a 6-year-old son with him, and he was helping his 20-year-old son. So the 20-year-old and the 6-year-old were brothers. I helped the 6-year-old last year. He's 26, but in between that first brother and the last brother, there was 4 siblings, and I helped all of them, and I treat them like gold. And I mean, when he says jump, I go, yes, sir. How high? Because I know that, I'm not stupid. I know that they feed my family. And I'll never forget a lesson that I learned in oil and gas. It was on December 30th, and I wanted to have a certain income that year. And I was about $2,600 shy of it. And I called this one investor and I was like, hey, weird question, Thomas, but you want to push me over the cap to make this amount of money this year? We got this 1 unit left on a well. And it sounds so weird. He's like, hell yeah, I do. And I mean, it was a weird way to ask somebody for business, but I think people really enjoy the authenticity of an agent, and what they're always expecting is the salesman that you've all run into where you want to go take a shower afterwards. And that's before you ever even shook their hand. And so, and I think that's what I'm trying to train y'all to realize, that everybody wants to know, like, I don't know how to sell. Let's just be yourself. Because the house doesn't get sold by you. You might talk about how not to buy it, because that's what I do more than not. Is I'm like, you know what? I don't think so, Thomas. Not on this one. Why? I love it. Backyard due west. You haven't been here for summer? You know, and explain about the heat. I know, but Doug, on the inside, well, shit, you'll be in the inside the whole year. We'll never be out in the backyard. And I mean, always, I think it's also funny to have a little wit. You know, I drop a bomb every once in a while. I don't trust people who don't cuss. Now I'm not going to drop F-bombs. I'm not going to get too rude. You know what I mean? That's only for certain friends. But yeah, I mean, it's always good to be real. And I actually showed a house about 18 months ago that was on the corner of Coit and in a subdivision. And this was a house. And it was desperate times. Like they needed a house and the inside was great. It was a single story, older couple, needed a single story. Backyard was fine, but it backed right up to a stoplight. And this was Coit. Okay. And this was the entrance into the subdivision. And number one, have you ever seen those cars that late at night, they're drunk, and when they turn in, they don't straighten the wheel, and they go right into the house on the corner? Well, that was the first thing I told them. I said, a car could drive into your house because you're right there on Coit from a drunk. But number two, if a drunk runs out of gas, you're the first house to knock on. Number three, the backyard faces Coit Road. And number four, that was west. And I said, so you got four things going against you, but you love the inside. And I was like, I really just wouldn't want to be your agent on this home. And we passed on it, but how many agents would have told them to do that? Right. And again, I don't know if you'll get that resale because they'll be wanting to sell well before the normal 3 to 5 years. Once they live through a summer, have barbecue at 5:30 and it's Monday through Friday, everybody's on Coit traveling because it's rush hour. And that's really what we're that's really why we're in real estate, in my opinion. So anyway, so that's, again, every time you do a search, it's going to be here. Most likely it's going to be here, or most likely it's going to be here. And just go quick. And then you always go results saved, new auto email, results saved, new auto email. And then we know on apartments and builders that we're always going to have them sign us in first. And that's always on the first phone call or in person. And then, I mean, I'll tell you, I sold one of the first homes at Stewart Peninsula in the colony. It's like, got to be 1994 or 5. My dad used to do, and myself, we used to do home buyer seminars. And so I would teach about an hour of it. My dad would teach about an hour and a half, whatever. I was a new agent, so it was a great learning curve from him. He's with Competitive Edge Realty. My dad, that's a great brokerage firm. So anyways, I did this home buyer seminar, and for like an hour, I talked about new home builders. And, you know, the people were like there. And so about a week later, they called me and they're like, hey, we found a home, Doug. We'd like you to be our agent, Continental Homes in the Stewart Peninsula. It's like the fourth home. So they had Continental Home and then right across the street, First Texas. So I got there a little early. I walk in and let's say that one of y'all are the on-site person. I'm like, hey, my name's Doug. I was with Remax. I'm like, hey, I'm with Remax. My clients, the Andersons, are coming. And the girl kind of looked at me. She's like, John Anderson? I was like, yeah, I think so. She's like, he came in last night. He didn't sign you in. And I was like, really? So she went over like a 3x5 index thing. She looked at, she's like, oh yeah, John and Judy Anderson. Yeah, they didn't put you down as a realtor. And I was like, is that gonna be a problem? She's like, oh yeah. It's like, we can't work with you. And I was like, oh, all right. I said, well, shit, I've taught a home buyer class with them. I went over it for an hour and I had become friends with them already. So I sit on my car, they pull up and he gets out and I'm like, you dumbass, you should have signed me in. And I said, you're gonna have to go by without me. I was like, I don't care. I was like, but you know, if you wanted me to help you, I can't do it. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. And I was like, no, I'm not. And he goes, well, I'll go talk him into it. I was like, no, you won't, but knock yourself out. So he goes in about 10 minutes later, walks out. And I swear to God, exactly what he did. She's looking out the window, the on-site lady. He's at my car. He goes, and we walk across the street and they buy a home with the US Texas. They were willing to have that go down versus changing that rule they have. All he would have had to done is sign me in on the phone and it would have been over. And I always say that because that's exactly what's going on now. And like 18 months ago, builders were paying 6%. Today it's 1%. Lennar is 1%. And I just had it happen to me now, current day, this year. And it was a student that went through Champions and didn't get his license yet. And he called me and he's like, hey, everybody know where Log Powell is? It's 75. It's like McKinney. It's like almost one of the most northern exits. Lennar's building up there. And he's like, hey, I found a builder. And I was like, oh, okay. And I've been working with him. And so I get up there early, walk in during COVID, I had my mask. They were like, no, you don't need your mask. You know, so I walk into this builder's little office and we're just shooting the shit, you know. And he's like, now who's your guy? And I was like, oh, it's Danny. And so I said, I'm going to wait by the couch. I got some phone calls. When he gets here, we'll, you know. So Danny walks in, I shake his hand. We go in this little room. And the guy didn't recognize him at all. And we start, getting onto their computer screen. And he's like, all right, give me your name. And he types in Danny. And he types in the last name. He's like, and as soon as I saw this look on him, I knew I was screwed. And he looked at Danny. He's like, have you ever been in here before? And Danny's like, I think I came in here a month ago. He's like, but for like 2 minutes. And the guy goes, did you walk into a room like this? And did somebody sign you in? And he goes, I don't remember. I've never done this before. And I mean, at this point, I was like, are you effing kidding me? And of course, that guy looked at me and he's like, I'm sorry. And I was like, no need to say anything else. I completely understand. And so I did the same thing. I looked over and I'm like, yeah, you got to sign the first words that ever come out of your mouth. Do you have a realtor program? I have a realtor. I need to sign my realtor in. And I mean, I got up and shook his hand. He ended up, wanting to find a home with me because I was giving him a little bit of the commission back, and that wasn't going to work, obviously. So, that's another thing you can always do. Again, I'm not trying to have you like minimize your commissions and sell your soul, but there's a lot of realtors, and we have a lot of realtors in our firm, different cultures, and they'll call me and go, I just can't compete with this one guy because he sold so many homes with a builder that he gets 6% all the time. So he offers three back to a buyer every single time. And he's getting all these builders because he does that. Well, if you don't continually sell that same builder, you're not going to get that much. You get 3. You can't compete giving 3 back because you'd be doing it for free. So, I mean, Alan Dilworth, he left and went to a different firm, but he's coming back probably in the future. And he's a good friend of mine. And when he was at Champions, I remember him saying, I'm just going to camp out in front of a builder. I'm going to get a little umbrella, have some drinks. When they pull in the parking lot, I'm like, hey, you got a realtor? He did. And he walked in with multiple ones. And he was like, yeah, I'll give you half of whatever I make. Just sign me in. And, I'll go in with you if you want also. But he's just out there in the parking lot with a little umbrella and some drinks and a hot day. He's a pretty big guy. So, I mean, he probably will hydrate himself. But the personality he has is just incredible. And it's kind of like that fear of never failing. That's why people succeed in real estate. And it's one of those like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. Get a little chair and friggin' an umbrella. All right. But he did. And, he does really well. But you can knock on doors. You can go to, I had another agent that went, he's a white guy with a mustache that twirls. And he's married to a black girl. And they were both students. And her personality, I mean, I would marry her if I wasn't married already. I mean, she's so funny. And so they joined us. Her name's Crystal, and they've now moved, but they were in Fort Worth. So they went to a mall over in Fort Worth, and they called me one night and they're like, Doug, you'd be so proud of us. We passed out 1,000 business cards. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I was like, how many emails did you get? And there's this long pause. He goes, what do you mean? And I was like, well, did you just pass the cards out? I was like, it wasn't Crystal, I forget his name, but I was like, none of them are going to call you back. I was like, you had Crystal with you? I go, where was she at? So she was on the other side of the little walkway handing out cards. I go, no. I go, she needed to be by you. And as soon as you handed a card out, somebody grabbed it, she needed to step in front of them. And I go, with her personality, no one would have not signed in. And I was like, but that's how you got to use it's almost like a buddy system. If you're not that type, get somebody that is, because the people that like, no matter what, they'll get your information. Is that you can't say no to them. She had that type of personality. And when they got married, I always asked, I was like, how'd y'all meet? And he's like, I was the only white guy in a bar full of black people. And he's like, I was up at the bar, I was ordering a drink, and this girl came up and said, boy, you must be pretty confident coming in here. And they started dating that way. I mean, it's just hilarious. It was just funny. And I mean, literally, he's got and it curls out to here. He's got a big old glass, and you're like, what? Like, is that look? But they're hilarious. Yeah. So it just depends on what your personality is. Every March, April, if you own a home, you get the tax assessments. A perfect time. Go to Home Depot, go to like Starbucks, you pay $100, $200 to the person that's behind the counter. Just say, hey, I'll buy the next 20 drinks. Just let them know I'm over in the corner if they want to thank me. Be your MLS, have a MLS open and just say, hey, obviously I didn't do it just for free, but you're welcome to leave. But if you want, I can do a CMA for your neighborhood. And I mean, there's all kinds of different ways, but that's pretty much the, now anything that y'all have specifically I can address, any searches or, I mean, we pretty much pound the searches here because you'll usually work with a buyer and a tenant as your first transaction. Yeah.
So I have a client who wants to lease a property, and I heard back from the agent today, and he said, yes, the property is available, but the owner's not paying any commission. So basically, that means that the client would have to pay everything based off what we just talked about.
Right. Is it in the MLS?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pull it up because it probably has $1 down there.
Okay.
Um,
Let me look
or even the street name.
at- Okay.
Oh, no, you're fine. But I mean, yeah, no, that's a new phenomenon that, remember when I went down, it showed 25%. In the last 8 months, it's shown $1. And a lot of agents will call me and go, you think this is in this print? I'm like, no, it's not in this. It's because there's no inventory. And if I was a landlord, I could kind of see it when you come to list my home and I'm like, hey, well, what's it going to cost to list my home? And you're like, well, I'm going to take half the first month's rent and then half the first month's rent goes to the buyer's agent. So I'm looking at you going, well, I'll pay you half the first month's rent. You're going to be my agent. Why am I paying a half of my first month's rent to a buyer's agent, a tenant's agent, when I'm the only home for lease in the market? They should pay their own. And that's kind of what's evolving is that, and that's why the 50% in the buyer rep agreement is protecting you. And then you just have to have a meeting with the buyer and go, hey, you know, and again, it's your call how you want to do that. You got,
Sorry.
oh, you're good. Just a street name if you want.
He sent me a message through Showing Time, so I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I'll edit it for you.
Oh, yeah, you're good. I mean, I'll keep talking, but yeah, so you'll always look at that VAC. And on the real estate side, on the commission, it usually shows 3%, but sometimes it shows 2.5%, 2%, 1.5. And again, I'm also of the ilk that I show that house no matter what. And I've just never personally ever, like Leslie said, I personally never have had a buyer or a tenant pay me. It's just a cost of doing business, in my opinion. Now, obviously, if it's $1, you've got to have that meeting, but that's a new phenomenon that hasn't been around. And when you saw those 4 homes that were still on, weren't they all about 25%? Mm-hmm. I don't know for sure that agents are saying, oh, I don't think I'm going to show that one, but I would. When I was licensed in 94, there was a company called 3% Realty out of Carrollton. And the owner was named Burl Blue, I think. But his concept, what he would go tell a seller, it's only going to cost you 3% to list, not 6, just 3. Then he put 1.5 in the MLS. And that was before anybody ever cut commissions. So everybody's kind of, talking like, that's not right. That's not right. So now you're showing a 1.5. I show them all day long. Those are the 1 homes that were always available because nobody was showing. I'm like, yeah, I'll show for 1.5. I mean, a lot of people don't even understand what 1.5 is. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes it's really not that much money. You do 1.5 versus 3. I mean, it's a little, but on a $300,000 house, on a $100,000 house, you're talking about you're making $1,500 versus $3,000. But if you never find them a home, you're making 3% of 0. So, and then and then you always tell them what she said, like, hey, just so you know, Steve, I'm doing this for half of what I normally would, but I'm your advocate. Well, a lot of agents might or might not be showing it because it's paying half less than what normal home would. I'm going to do it, but I also want all your business. And I think it's a good time to be able to turn on. You got it or no?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Searches. What if you put something in and you're not getting it? You put it in left, right, and center, and it's still not coming up.
Well, that's a good question. So,
I can give you an address.
okay, go ahead.
All right, 103 South Anna Drive in Allen.
So what I would do is, well, first off, what I probably haven't told you, but never use the S.
Oh, I did it without the S, and I still didn't get it.
Okay, so it's 103 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is go here and just type 103 and an A
Okay.
and hit enter, and it'll pull up everything since 2003 with a 103 and an A in it. It's gonna be a little bit of work, but you can look for it. And it's called what again?
103 South Anna.
It's called Anna, A-N-N-A. Yeah, so you can see that nothing is available that's active because they would all start there active and then go down.
It's not active.
Oh, it's not active.
No, it's not active.
Okay, well then we'll go a little further. If it's not active, then you can actually type in a little more if you know exactly how it's spelled. Anna, A-N-N-A.
I think so, you know.
So then you hit search, and if it's been in there since 2003, it'll pull up.
For that, it won't be good, right?
Oh, okay. So maybe that's
Like, I've been in my house since 2000.
Right.
Oh, okay. So the MLS is 2003 and And,
today.
oh, okay, no, this dude's in there forever.
Okay, so the way to find it would be going to the tax roll. So that's search and go to the very bottom. And when you go to the very bottom, what's county is it in? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it's-
So I would first go like this. Okay, 103 Anna, and then you go over here and you type Angela, but real quick, you type in Denton. Or you gotta have it highlighted, but maybe not. Anyways, you go down to Denton. Well, right now you can see there's 11 matches. Okay. And did I highlight anything? No. So let's see where they are. Okay, there it is right there. See Allen?
Yeah.
And then you just click on this. This is the tax roll.
Mhm.
And when you click on it, it pulls up that Gary Lynn Sanders is the
Yes,
owner.
that's Gary.
Okay. And then you can see the taxes. Boom.
Okay.
Now, if you get to this and you see last listing is like that, then you can click on it. But see how they had no history
Yeah.
and it has no photos. Yeah. And then you can hit history and you can find it. Yeah, exactly. But that makes sense. That's how you
Yeah.
find a search. That's how you find a property. And sometimes you got to play with it.
Well, we usually just, I didn't know that there was a search on there. I end up going to the Denton Cat or the Pollen Cat.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Marlo, where's the property at?
It was out Arlington, and I can't even remember how, because I just got the message today. I'm like, where did it go? That's out.
But it was in Arlington?
Yeah. It was in Arlington.
And what was the price range?
It was for leads, so I think it was like 2,300 a month.
Okay. So here's a way, is it for sure you're in Arlington? Okay. So here's a way to find a property if you have something like you lost the email or, trust me, it happens to me. So you go to city and you type in Arlington. And then if you know for sure it's 2,300, you can go 22-24. And that's going to pull up everything in Arlington. That's 22 to 24. And of course that says condo. So it's a house, right?
Yeah.
So if you just click house, you're down to 4 and then you hit results and it should be one of those. Does it look familiar? Hampshire, Branch, Cloud, or Plumeria?
No, it was a house that I sent to her on the list, and she really wanted to apply, but then the credit score had to be 700 or better. And she got 685.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, she can apply, but they're not gonna pay any commission on it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So like, I'll look at these and see, but like down at the bottom, every once in a while, you'll see that's a 30%. If you go to number 2, that's 25. Everybody see that?
But Love Drive's in Irving.
Oh, so it was Love Drive?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll find it. So that's 250. So on that one, you get $250, which is less than 10%.
40%.
Yeah, right. All right. So Love. All right. So let's say that somebody called Marlo and just said, hey, there's a property on Love. Well, she just types in Love and then she can go here and find Arlington. Oh, Irving. I'm sorry. Irving. So she finds Irving. Got to know the alphabet, which is hard for me. And then you hit search. That'll pull up everything with Love and Irving. And it looks like there's only one active for 2,500. So then you click on the MLS number. And again, that's their property. You scroll down and it's got 37%.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it was a different one.
Okay. Might have been.
But that's pretty good. But see, like that says, please see rental requirements prior to showing, minimum 700 credit score or higher.
Yeah.
No pets, no smokers, minimum 2-year lease. So you already know you could eliminate a lot of people if they only wanted a year lease. When
I'm sorry.
oh no, let me hit this real quick. So it says right there in the remarks section, go to rental requirements. Anytime it says something like that, look at rental requirements, look at transaction desk, requirements are attached. You're going to go underneath the picture of the house and right next to the clock, you see those 3 sheets of paper. Well, if it's a blank, that means there's no attachments. But if there's those 3 sheets of paper, you just click on it and it's going to send you to all the PDFs that have been loaded by the listing agent. And one of them is going to say rental requirements. So what was your question?
No, the no pet thing.
See right there.
She said, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. So there it is. So then you would just click on it to open it up.
Can you click on it?
Yeah. Is this it?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, okay.
Requirement.
Yeah, if you hit on rental requirements, it'll tell you, yeah. So application fees, $35, made out to Kennerly. Please allow 2 to 4 days, email the app, blah, blah, blah. Credit score 700, include tenant responsibilities, and then they have to sign it.
So we had a situation with this particular client, and she was like, well, I'm finding things and they're saying no pets. And I'm like, is your pet an ESA? And she's like, huh? I said, I'm just asking. I'm like, I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm just telling you. That
Yeah, an emotional
ESA
support animal.
Exactly. They can't discriminate. And technically by law, you don't have to say that you have a pet if it's not a pet. So that's something, the feedback I tell people,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not telling you to do it, but.
Right. And then it's a little dicey because what happens is all of a sudden you're now sending an application in. The neighbor calls the landlord, who they're best friends from football season. And it's like, hey, you got a Dachshund in the front yard taking a crap. I thought there's no pets allowed. And then you have, but yeah, I mean, some people take those dogs through like a 30-day class. You could probably buy an emotional support vest off of Amazon. No, I'm just joking. I mean,
Yes, if there's money in
Right.
it, a doctor will say, yeah, they need it.
Yeah.
Probably everybody needs it right now.
Yeah, so, yeah, no, that's fine. I just always like to do full disclosure.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you do what yeah, but I mean, always the neighbor knows. The neighbor's gonna call the landlord and then it's gonna be a crap show. But yeah, no, for sure. All right, so does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
So my vote is next week. Can you show me how to do the commission thing?
Yeah, let's go through.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very nice. All right, let's do that real quick and then we'll end training. Who's here for review? I'm doing a review. Okay. I think I'm doing it state national, but I'm doing it at 1. So, all right. So, everybody should know by now, this is, one of the 4 emails you get when you're onboarded, and it's, our back agent. And, when you log in, you're going to have your password and your username. You'll hit log in and everybody's going to have this next screen. I actually use this website on my phone. I'm on my phone on this website all day long. When y'all send me a transaction to approve, that's never on here. I do it while I'm driving on my phone. I just go in. And so you've already done it or you haven't? Have you even started it? All right. I don't know if I'm going to get the, let's see.
I might have started it.
Okay.
I haven't finished it yet.
All right, so I'm going to have to do it through Chrome. The thing you have to know about Back Agent is that on Chrome, it works better. And I just don't have my password, so give me a second. But yeah, this will be good because, and I can do it real quick.
You use reviews every month?
You mean the transaction reviews?
No, state.
Oh yeah, I'll do them for you on your own. I mean, I just do it. Yeah, usually it's after people are done with prep and just little word games. All right, so here we are. So just real quick, let me cover Back Agent and then we'll get to the transaction. So this is always a start menu. Okay, we put little comments here. If you go over to Office, that's our remote office. When you click on Office, the next screen, if you click on Documents, you're going to see that we have all of our documents loaded here. And there's not really only one link. It's right here, Quick Resources. When you click on it, it's going to list a lot of things that you can use in your advertising if you want. All my graphics, all my logos, I have not kept. They're right here for y'all to use. Of course, in our company, you can use whatever you want as your marketing. All you have to have is DHS Realty, half the size of the biggest font. So you don't have to use my approved logos. I let y'all do what you want. But if you scroll down, every once in a while, you'll need a referral form. That's if you're going to refer somebody. There it is right there. Okay. If you ever do an open house, which we're doing a training next Saturday, 12 to 2 at an open house, I'll be showing you exactly what I do to do an open house. And usually after 20 minutes, you can head out. Anybody that wants to stay can just do the open house from 12 to 2. I'll pick the house next week. And then for every apartment and for almost every lease, you're going to need our company W-9. It's right there. What I recommend that you do is log in and send it to yourself and save it on your phone, so you always have it. All right, so to address Hammers, you're going to log in and you're going to be at this start screen. I always like to start from the beginning. So you're going to be at the start screen, and really it's a transaction. So what you do is hit transactions. And when you hit transactions on the far right, you're going to see add a transaction. You're going to click on it, and you're going to go through a number of questions that are pretty basic. I'd say that almost everything should be done residentially. This is for apartments, and that's for referral that you're getting. Okay. So most of the time, is it a buyer or a seller?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. So when you're your own buyer, I'm not going to require you to have an IDS and a buyer rep on yourself. So let me show you that. No, but it's a good question because it's still going to ask you for that. So let me walk you through it. So let's say that I was buying my own house, and so I'm going to act like I'm him. So I'm going to hit residential. I'm going to hit sale. And then at this point, I like everybody to hit the fourth box down, always. Even if it's a lease, it'll say pre-move in, but always select the fourth box. And then it just asks you, what are you? Well, I'm a seller. I'm selling my own home. And then I have to select a client. So I'm going to, put my name down. And then here I just put seller, if I'm the seller. And then you have to put an email in. Then you hit add, and you're going to see you're listed right here. And then you just hit create new transaction. The next screen, you're going to see 4 orange boxes. And when you see the 4 orange boxes, you basically have to go left to right and gray those out. The only reason I told you to mark that in the beginning is because if you mark that, it tells you everything you need to do to get this to submit. If you accidentally forgot to, then that would be the only thing marked. And all you got to do is go over here and click that, and it'll automatically orange the boxes out. Okay. So the first thing you do is you go to property address. Did you ever list your home, or is it just, is it MLS?
Yeah, it's in the house.
Okay. So let's just act like I'm buying it, but I'm you.
Yeah.
So right here, you hit set property. And when you hit set property, you're going to scroll down, and it's going to ask you, do you want to pull it from the MLS, or do you want to add it on your own manually? So you'll hit most likely search MLS. What's the address?
302 Willow Street.
All you got to do is really type in 302 Willow. It should pull it up. You hit search. And is that it?
Yeah.
So you hit select property, and you hit set property, and watch that orange box. It goes gray. So now you go to the next box. And this is going to be contact. It's what? Very easy. All you got to do is gray those orange boxes out, and you're basically done. So I'm going to delete this afterwards, but I'm going to show him how he's going to be doing it. Your picture would be here, and that would be you also.
Well, no, I'm buying it, so I did that.
You're buying it, you'd still be on this side. You would just pick buyer.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I didn't know you were the buyer. I thought you might have been the seller. So if you did buyer, it would be you, the buyer here, and you would be there because you logged in.
Right.
And so over here, yeah, you would pick a buyer. And again, I really don't care about the name of this buyer because that's not our client anyway. And you're about to load the contract, which will have the actual people's name. If we ever get audited, they're not going to ask for this site. They're going to ask for this, which is the documents. And that's what you'll print out. And then, of course, the agent, you can put the real agent's name. All right, let's say it was Marlo. And then you put, you just put agent. You don't need to go through industry. You'd have to put an email. Okay. And I'm not putting your real name. So right here it says, do you want to put it in the community for other people, or just keep it in your own and just do my contacts? And then you can see that now there's only one thing I need to put, and that's going to be the title company. So you go down here, you click title company. Let's say it was Truly Title. Since we use them so much, Roxanne's the closer. If you just typed in Rox, it pulls up Roxanne. So if you just clicked it, you don't even have to fill out anything. Then you hit select, and now you can see that went gray. This one is the goofiest. It's asked you for all these dates and info, and really nobody really needs to get exact on anything other than it asks you the price of the home, because that's what your CDA is going to be on. So it says when did you work? It says when did you work? When did you get the listing agreement? If it was a buyer, say when did you start working with a buyer? I mean, oh, yesterday. Okay, you hit save, and then you just go all the way through this. I've got to do it for us to get to the, I've got to do this to get to submit the CDA. I want to show you what it's like. I really don't care about these answers because we're going to load the contract. That's going to have the exact data. It is important if it was built before 78 or not, because that's going to prompt you to have a lead-based paint disclosure. Is there an HOA? That's important. Okay, because if you put yes, it would require an HOA addendum. Is there a water mud? Okay. Is there a flood zone? I hope not. Are you paying a referral? No. When was a contract executed? Yesterday. I mean, I don't even care about that. This is going to be important. Is there an option period? Yes, it was 5 days. Okay. Yes. I mean, I don't know if that was your option, but you put a financing, I don't know, 21 days. Was there a survey? Yes. Okay. Buyer purchased. Again, it doesn't matter. It's going to be in the contract who did it. The date of the contract, that would probably be good. Yeah, it was yesterday. Okay. Is the buyer agent a member of the firm? No. If you put yes, then they require intermediary form. This is important. What's the sales price? Oh, it was 500. Okay. You hit save. What's the type of financing? Oh, it's conventional. And you can ignore that. And then this last one is when's it going to be held? Oh, it's going to be the 29th. Okay. Now that'll go gray. We got one form left. So because he's doing his own house, when you go to documents, it's going to say to load an IBS, but you'll see that right here it says required now, and he can put request exemption.
Okay.
And once you click that, it's going to go to another thing, and you're just going to type in right here. You can either type in I am the buyer or talk to Doug. I mean, it doesn't, you just got to put something in there. Again, I'm going to see it. So
Right.
then you hit request exemption and you'll see that 6 goes to 5. Okay. And then you go to the buyer rep. Well, you're not going to have to do a buyer rep on yourself. So you would hit request exemption. But you would if you client, and that's why you would load it. And the only difference is if it says required now and it says attached document, it just kind of walks you through steps on finding it on your computer, and it will load it. Almost everybody in here has done this. It's just I'm trying to do it real quick so then you go down here, and yeah, you're going to have to load the contract. Actually, it doesn't give you a right to exempt it. So I'm going to load just some file to show you how we can load these. Let's say that when you were buying the home, Hammer, it was a builder. Well, they're not going to have all those next. Wait a second. It's going to show all the pages. Okay, so you haven't touched anything. You're just rolling down. You're going to watch them load all. So hypothetically, this would be a contract. You could pick every page, or you just go select all, move right up, and then all you do is create document, and you'll see now there's only 3 documents that we have to add. Now with the builder, well, you do have to go to a couple steps. It's just going to say, do you want to save it? Yes. We're almost done. It's good training. All right. So down here, if this was a builder, you don't have any of these 3 you need, right? Okay. So let's just say, to make it quick, it's a builder. You just hit required, request exemption, and you're just going to put new build. So that's all you need to do right there. Just type in new build. Okay. Then you'll hit request exemptions. Everybody with me? And you'll do it to the next 2. And then you're going to see that submit button go yellow. So it'll just take a second. Request exemption. Trust me, it's the fastest hour and 45-minute training that you'll ever have that gives you a lot of good information. And I have a video that does it just this, which is much shorter. I would send it to you. It's on our it's on our YouTube page. All right, so you can see now there's only 1. All right, so I just want you to watch. That's orange and that's not yellow. So this last one, because it's a build, you're not going to have these forms. And if you did have the forms, you would load them just like we loaded the other stuff. So here you just type in whatever, talk to Doug, and then you hit request exemption. Watch that gray go and watch the submit button go yellow. The reason I'm telling you what's going to happen on the next screen is because I can do this from my phone when you call me. And when you tell me that the submit button didn't turn yellow, I'm going to tell you that you're looking at an orange box. Because if you don't have an orange box, then it goes yellow. At this point, you're about 4 steps away from sending me the CDA. You hit submit, pretty basic. The next screen, you're going to say continue on. Create a request, same thing as continue on. And now you're at the CDA. And you're going to scroll down. And right here in this dollar amount, you just type in what your commission was. Well, it was $500,000. Let's say you're getting 3%. That's going to be 15,000. Let's say that you didn't want to do the math. You just click on the calculator. Well, because you put $500,000 in that context and it already has it. So all you got to do is put 3 and it does the math for you. Once you hit update, it's going to show the 225 taken out. It doesn't because this is my CDA and I don't charge myself. But yours will have 200 and then 25. Let's say that you're giving 1,000 to your buyer. You would hit add payout, external referral, $1,000, tab, and type in the buyer's name.
What if, so I do that, like if I want my commission to go towards my closing costs as well?
Yes. So if you were going to use the whole commission towards your closing costs, number one, you would ask your lender how they want it.
Right.
And they're normally going to say, yeah, just show 14,000 going to you.
Right.
So if I was the buyer, that's exactly what I would do. I'm going to have you're going to have 225 taken out. So you'll say, yeah, everything other than 225, I want towards my closing cost. You do it on a calculator. Let's just say it was 13,500.
And if the commission is greater than the closing cost, can it point down, like excess?
You'd have to ask the lender. I'm not ever going to have a problem with it, but
Right.
it's got to be shown on the CD.
Right.
So the lender cares.
Right.
So I always say, whatever you want to do, just ask the title of the lender and I'll walk you through how to make it like that.
They said it's okay.
Yeah. So you would just put here. And again, if I was doing it to me, I do Douglas Hayward Smith. And then when I hit tab, you're going to see that out of the 15,000, 1,500. So see how it automatically did it? Okay. If I changed this and it had $25 for the E&O, and then if it had 200 for the transaction, once you tab, it's going to show that Doug got less. See that?
Right.
So it always will, it'll always equal on its own. Now, all you do is you go to the bottom and that table funded is defaulted. That means the check will be made out to you at closing. It'll never be made out to me. You hit create funding request. There's 2 more screens. The next screen is stupid. It just says, do you want to continue on? Oh, it says no phone number. So again, if you want, you could just go up here and do 972-555-1212 because I'm going to be in touch with them via email. I really don't care about the phone number. You hit create funding request. The next screen is going to say, do you want to continue? You'll say yes. And then you're going to get 5 questions. So right here, you just say continue to next step. You're going to get 5 questions. You answer yes to all of them. You really don't even have to read them, but you can if you're that type of person. And then you hit submit. Then you hit submit transaction. And at this point, I'm about to get an email that says you have a CD I need to look at.
Right.
I'm going to show you what I do on my end. So now I'm going to go here to transactions. And when I click on transactions, of course, this is transactions for everybody. I'm going to see this transaction, which would have been yours.
Right.
So I click on it. And when I click on it, it's going to say review transaction. I'm only going to be able to do this, but I just want y'all to see what I do. I don't hide anything. And if y'all ever become broker, I'll show y'all how to do this. I'm going to go through each form and make sure there's initials on it for my quality control. Let's say I've done that. I'm going to select approve all. I'm going to hit OK. Then I'm going to say all documents are good. And once I select that, it's going to say that, are you good to approve it? Before I approve it, I need to look and see if your CDA is correct. So I go in and I'm going to go right to what you just filled out to make sure it looks all right.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom, I'm going to say, yeah, it looks good. I'm going to hit create. And then I'm going to send you a copy and the title company. I always do that so that you'll have a copy of it.
Okay.
And that way that if the title company ever said, hey, I didn't get it, you'll always have it. So right there, I'll hit send and it'll give me the email you put in for the title closer.
Right.
And right here, I'm always going to select both you and the title closer. So she's going to get this right next to
And look at it and say that.
Uh-huh. Remind me to tell her.
You're screaming Doug and then.
Yeah.
Then at the very bottom, I hit approve. And it's done. Now all I'm waiting is for it to close, and I'm gonna hit set confirm, and then I wait for it to close, and then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna file it, and that way I'll know what to 1099 you at the end of the year.
Perfect. And what about the addendum? The addendum or the amendment that you have to do, so the closing clause underneath?
Okay, well, when you do that, there's gonna be two sends at the bottom.
Mhm.
I'm gonna send the CBA, and then there'll be another send for me to send the contribution letter.
Okay,
It's automatically generated.
but there's no like forms where I have to fill out like an amendment or something like that?
No, that's your money.
Right.
You're just having them
Oh, so
decide where.
that's all I have to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't affect the seller at all. You're already getting the commission.
Right.
You're just now figuring out how to get it changed. You just want to be in touch with the lender and the title company.
Mhm.
And as long as they're good, that's fine. Because it's money that is netted to it's coming out of the seller's proceeds no matter what.
Right.
So you're just determining how to get it.
Okay.
Now, if they say we need an amendment, you would just go to the amendment form,
Uh-huh.
which is in your documents.
Yeah.
There's 9 paragraphs. You go to paragraph 9, you just type in all of Hammer's commission is going towards blah, blah, blah.
Right, and then the other side, we need to sign that
Uh-huh.
as well.
But they won't have an issue with it. It's the same
Yeah,
net.
they don't have the issue.
Yeah. So always I always say this then in training. When you call me to ask a question, I sometimes say that's a title question. That's because I'm not going to answer something I don't know. But there's always 4 people that are going to know almost every answer. It's either going to be me, the other agent, your client,
Mhm.
or the lender and the title company.
Right.
And that's it. So if it's a title question, I always say, like, we got an agent right now. I forget who it is, but it's basically, there was a death. The executor has 2 siblings. She's buying it from them, but she's also the seller because she's the executor. So you talk about weird. And I mean, when he asked me, I was like, call the title company. And so that's what he did. He got in touch with Roxanne. She's working on it. And so like last night we wrote up he's an intermediary because he's representing a buyer and the seller, but they're both the same people. I mean, isn't that weird? And so again, I mean, I want to make sure we did it right, and there's no problem, but yeah, it's super weird because I'm going through intermediate with him on the phone last night. It's Jay Sauls. And so I'm doing, yeah, that's weird because you've got a listing agreement with her. You've got a contract with her to her, and you're an intermediary, not appointed anybody representing both the people that are the same. But it's all being done however the verbiage needs, it'll all be done according to what the title company says, not to what I think or anything like that. So I always give you, my opinion, but I'm always going to push you towards an expert. We're not into ego tripping here.
Hey, before you click out of there,
Yeah,
so I know you got, with our transactions on our end,
yes.
how we do it. So I filled out the, what is that sheet again? The,
Hey, Fatima, I'm gonna stop the recording. Be safe.
Okay.
Anything you need, call me. I'll be here all weekend.
All right.